Hey, folks, and good afternoon. Thanks for joining us on this live broadcast. I got Rich joining us as well. And Rich, I just got a message from the Weather Service. They just put on their social media. The whole reason we're here tonight is to talk about severe weather. And here's their message: severe weather starts tonight. Safety plans should be finalized now. Check your phones. Make sure Do Not Disturb is turned off and that the wireless emergency alerts are enabled. Be on guard and ready to act tonight through Saturday night if you receive a warning. That's exactly it, folks. We have some severe weather forecasted for us overnight tonight, also throughout the day Saturday. Rich and I wanted to jump on before we went home this Friday just to brief you on what we expect, what the Weather Service expect. And Rich is going to talk about what he always does, the mastermind behind the safety in regards to severe weather. Rich is our in-house weather nerd. And Rich, always glad to have you joining me on these live updates so we can keep our community informed about things they need to do to keep them safe. Hope you had a good day.
It's been a good day today, Chief. I appreciate it.
Yeah, I've been traveling. I was in East Tennessee and Knoxville. We had one of our officers, Officer Michael Wiley. He graduated from the National Forensic Academy, so I was able to go out there, be there for him, support him through his graduation with his family, with Chief Michael Mullins as well, and it was a good time. And literally just got back a few moments ago, so glad you hung out a little later to help me out with this. But to everyone, in our community, here's what we're going to expect. So confidence is high that multiple rounds of severe weather are going to come through overnight and into Saturday, and all hazards are there. So flooding, damaging winds, hail, and even tornadoes. Storms will begin to move in the area overnight Friday, basically early Saturday morning, about the 3 a.m. ish time frame is the last timing that I saw. I think Rich, you probably saw the same between like 3 and 5 a.m. But there's uncertainty if exactly when the storms are going to show up, and also if there's going to be a break in the storms before the more storms come through Saturday. So it's something we're going to have to watch through the night and into Saturday. The threat levels that we have for the overnight, you can see here the Mount Juliet area. You see Nashville. We're just to the right of Nashville, which is to the east of Nashville. We're in the yellow. We're in the significant area. With the conference calls with the Weather Service, they're saying all of Middle Tennessee is at some level of risk where you need to pay attention to a weather warning source overnight, something that can wake you up. So don't get too attached to the color shading that you see in the different zones of weather. But we have a high potential of wind, about a medium potential for tornado possibilities and hail, and a broken line of storms will come through overnight. And that's what we're going to have to start watching for potential like supercell storm development as that line comes through. And so they will begin to track from west to east. And thankfully, they're going to weaken as they continue to head east. And let's just hope they just weaken before they get to our community. But you just never know. And you always want to keep an eye on things. Here's the timing graphic that they put out. And we are in that lighter shade of gray in the middle. There's a dark shade to our left. There's a lighter shade to our right. But we're right there kind of in the middle with the number 2 section. And the earliest start is early Saturday morning, about midnight. Most likely is 3 a.m. to 5 a.m. and then ending by 6 a.m. Saturday. Again, we're kind of not sure if there's going to be a break or not, but then more storms come in Saturday. So the Saturday severe weather threat, our threat increases to the enhanced level, the 3 out of 5 scale, but still high probability of damaging winds, about a medium probability for the tornado and hail as well. So it says here what to expect. An outbreak of severe storms is expected with multiple rounds expected. Scattered supercells capable of all modes of severe weather. And this will be followed by another line of storms with wind and tornadoes as the main threat to end the event. It says just timing, specific timing remains uncertain due to the questions about morning storms. Threat should end by midnight Sunday. We are under a flood watch, all of Middle Tennessee, 9 p.m. tonight until 1 a.m. on Sunday, and also a wind advisory as well, 10 p.m. tonight until 7 a.m. on Saturday. So there could be anywhere from 2 to 4 inches of rainfall throughout this weather event and up to 40 to 50 mile per hour winds for just the general winds outside of the thunderstorms or any other type of warning related to severe weather or a tornado. And I always want to plug MJ Alert, folks. If you're not registered for MJ Alert, get registered. It's our quickest way to notify you any type of emergency situation, police incident, whatever's going on in our community. We can just send you a text. All you have to do is text the letters MJ to the phone number 67283, and then you are registered on MJ Alert. So super easy to do. A lot of people in our community are connected. So many of you watching may be connected, but your friends may not be, or your neighbors may not be. But just promote this course. Just put on there, sign up for MJ Alert. It's a great way to stay informed by your city, especially in emergency situations. Rich, I see you have the tacos queued up. If I can get it to go on stage. Let me see here. I got to remove that. Add to stage. There you go.
Yep, got
the
tacos all ready for this weekend. So the tacos is my example of how we discuss watches and warnings. It's kind of a funny graphic I found a while back, and it kind of helps folks understand a little better. It kind of make a little light of it because we're not here to really scare anybody. We just want you to be weather aware. But a lot of folks get confused about the differences between watches and warnings. And really, the big difference is, the watches are, we've got the ingredients in the atmosphere, and the things are getting right, to make the things happen. That's the taco watch, or the thunderstorm watch, the tornado watch. So when you hear those watches, that just letting you know the things are right, the potential is there. When you hear the warnings, that means, take action right now. That means things are happening. We're getting ready to have those tacos. It's getting ready to eat. So things are about to happen. So when you get those warnings happening, it's about time to take care of business. So be in your safe place, have your plans already done ahead of time, have your supplies ready ahead of time. That way, if we do get a warning issued, it's time to take care of business and take care of yourself and your family. And also, you want to make sure you know where you need to go. That way, if something does happen, if we do get those taco warnings issued, whether it's a tornado warning or a storm warning or whatever the case may be, you know how to take care of it ahead of time, so you don't have to worry about it during the event. Practice these with your family ahead of time. Know to go to the lowest and most centermost point in your structure, wherever it is, whether it's a house, an office building, a school, whatever the case may be. Try to think about, I've said it before, and it's one of the easiest analogies to think of in your head. Think of the building you're in like an onion. You know how they peel away the layers from the outside? And you want to think about that, trying to get into the innermost layer of that onion. That way, that's the safest place. If it happens to mean a stairwell, a bathroom, a underground cellar, a storm shelter, whatever the case is, whatever is the innermost, centermost place you can get safely, that's where you need to get. Stay away from the outside, stay away from the windows and doors. And for heaven's sakes, if it's coming, don't be out there taking videos. We don't want you to end up being a statistic. And be prepared, especially since this first round of storms coming through tonight and potentially some storms tomorrow night. Be prepared for those nighttime storms and tornadoes. Make sure you've got ways to get those warnings overnight, whether it's the NOAA weather radio, which is one of the best ways, or your cell phone. That way it's charged and ready to go for those wireless emergency alerts, or for the MJ alerts if you subscribe to them, or if someone happens to call you in the middle of the night to wake you up. And make sure you have some basic things ready to go. Know where your safe place is. That way, if you get woke up in the middle of the night in a hurry, you can get there quickly. But before you get to that safe place, make sure you, at the very minimum, have a good pair of shoes next to your bed. Because if you get something that happens in the middle of the night, a storm comes through, causes some damage to your home, you don't want to be running through that damage in bare feet, causing potential injury to yourself. So a good pair of shoes next to your bed during a storm is well worth its weight in gold. You definitely want to have a good pair of shoes or boots standing by in an event like this, just in case something happens.
Yeah, Rich, and this is so true. We had the 2020 tornado, and there were so many residents who didn't have shoes, or their house was destroyed or significantly damaged. Because most of us, we go to bed, we don't sleep with shoes on. They stay in our closets or near the front door, wherever you store shoes in your home. But for a tonight like this, you want to keep your shoes right there with you. And when you go to your safe place, put those shoes on. Be ready, be prepared. And that's really what we're trying to relay to our community, is we want you to be prepared. We don't want to see anyone hurt significantly or potentially killed in such a storm. And we know the more we talk about it, the more we work to educate our community, it can lead to a safer community. It's not meant to scare you by any means. It's just meant to be prepared And when you're actually more prepared, it lowers that stress level for you because you know exactly what to do in the event we do have a strong storm coming through our community. I see that NOAA weather radio sitting on the table in this bedroom of this image, and you definitely need something like that, and definitely, or you use your phone and make sure those wireless emergency alerts are turned on. Another thing that we see in our community, which is just false information, is many people think the weather warning sirens that are outside are meant to be heard indoors. They're not. They're only designed and engineered to be heard outdoors. So where you see these weather warning sirens installed throughout our community, they're by areas where there's a lot of outdoor activity. So schools, around the sports complexes, in our larger shopping areas, you'll see those weather warning sirens. They're really meant to just alert people who are outside. They're not meant to alert people indoors. And the NOAA weather radio is truly the most reliable thing you can get for your home and your family to alert you if you need to wake up at night for a severe storm.
And of course, if you do have a tornado shelter at your home and you live inside the city limits, shoot me an email. There's my email address. We'd like to get a little bit of basic information about your storm shelter. That way we can get you put into our system. Basically, all that does is we're not trying to spy on you and get nosy about what's going on at home, but we're just trying to know basically how many adults are there, how many kids are there, and how many fur babies are there in case something was to happen. That way we know where to come look for you, where the shelter is located, if it's in your basement, in your garage, whatever the case might be, and an emergency contact. That way, if something does happen there at the home, we know who to reach out to right away. So just shoot me a short email and I'll get that squared away with you.
Yeah, and Rich, this was your idea, and such a great idea to have for our community is to know where these tornado shelters are. We have a what's called a computer-aided dispatch system. Part of Rich's full-time duties here as the administrative services manager, he manages this computer-aided dispatch system, and so every incident and address and individual that we're involved with goes into this system. That's how we keep track of everything. So we can attach this information about the tornado shelter to each individual address. So if an officer responds, or our firefighters or EMS personnel respond to an address, there's a flag that pops up to the dispatcher, and they can see, okay, they have a tornado shelter, and their tornado shelter is in the garage, and it's buried, subgrade under the ground in the garage, because if that's covered with debris, first responders may never know that that tornado shelter is there. And that's why if you have one, we think it's important that you register it with us. You don't have to, but it certainly gives you a peace of mind knowing that your first responders, your police, fire, EMS, we know where you're going to be in the event you have to get in your shelter. So you just don't stay down there in the shelter. You may think, well, maybe I could use a cell phone to call out. If the cell phone systems get damaged during a disaster, you're not going to be able to do that. What we saw in the 2020 tornado is that a lot of people lost power, their cable, they couldn't watch TV or the news to get information about what was happening. The first idea of what was happening was from us as a police department, because we started to post information on social media, and they were able to watch the live videos off social media as we were telling our community what was going on during that tornado. And you got to think about all of that. You want your phone charged, so you can try to get some level of communication out. And if your data isn't working, text messages are more reliable if the cell service and the data isn't working. So you can't call. If you can't use your data, try sending a text message to a family member or friend, because that usually can get through, because it requires less infrastructure and less data to send a simple text message out. So all interesting tidbits that Rich and I are talking about to you this afternoon about these storms that are headed our way, but we just want you to be safe in our community. Rich, what else you got for us?
Yeah, and about the text messages and data during storms like that, if you happen to have family or friends that live out of town, it's a good idea to make them aware. Hey, we've got a storm blowing through tonight. If anything was to happen, I might text you, because our local networks might be so busy processing local data and local calls. Getting a text message shot to somebody out of town, because their networks are a little less busy, because text messages are SMS, short message service. that little data burst getting out of our local area is a lot easier than keeping it in our local area. So you might be able to send a text message to check into a friend or family member out of town, say, hey, we're okay. If you get a message from the rest of the family, let them know that everybody's okay. So it's a good idea to kind of set that up ahead of time so everybody out of town will know you're okay as your main check-in point.
Yeah, good deal. Rich, I'm going to go through a couple questions while I have them. Brooke said she got here late. What are we emailing? And Brooke, we were talking about the home tornado shelter registry, and Rich had that up. But if you do have a tornado shelter in your home, you can send Rich an email. His email's on the screen, and he can get that registered through the system. And of course, if anyone ever shows up late to these broadcasts, once it ends, you can go back and watch it. It remains on our different feeds on X, on Facebook, and YouTube. They're there for you to go watch once we're done with it. So going through here, and then Evan saying during the tornado, he lost power for 10 days. Man, that was a really long time. And there's a lot of hurt in our community through that. And I'm just grateful to see how much our community came together to help those in need. People lost their homes. We had 3 individuals lose their life in our community, many others very injured through that event. Something we never want to experience again. And that's why we take an extra effort as your police department to talk about storms and being prepared and what we're doing to keep you safe, is because we want a safe community and we don't want to ever see us go through something like that again. And if we do, we know we're going to be prepared if we have to deal with it again. Carol's asking about shelters for the county. Rich, I'm not aware of any shelters. I know we will have one when our new headquarters is built. That was the effort with our new police headquarters. If it's about 75% done, we'll be moving in August, September. There is a tornado shelter in that building that is open to the public. From ever so often, we get those requests. Can we just come hang out at your headquarters during a bad storm? Because they may feel their home is not as structurally sound for a tornado. So we let them come hang out with us. But we really don't have a tornado shelter. And our building that we're currently in is not very safe for a tornado. The new one, though, we prepared for it. It is a completely sturdy, safe building. There are 2 different tornado shelters throughout the building, amongst the building itself being very structurally strong, because our emergency operations center is going to be in the new building. We want that all to function well should we ever have another disaster in our community. So give us until August, September. Once those doors open, there will be a public tornado shelter in our community. This one's for you, Rich. Yeah, Heather's, if only tacos really fell from the sky. And folks, if you're joining late, you'll get the taco joke if you rewatch the video.
Looked like Miss Carol added a clarification down there at the bottom. I think she meant the tornado shelter registry.
Okay, I gotcha. So that's another good question too. I'm not aware of one. That's kind of unique, I think, for our area. And that was Rich's idea. They're grateful for Rich and all that he does for us. But he's the brain behind that, and it's a great idea, especially when we have the computer systems that allow us to attach that information to every address in our community. Rich, how's the weather looking beyond all this storminess tonight?
Yeah, so right, today has been beautiful so far. We've been up in the upper 70s, low 80s today. Absolutely pretty day today. Light breeze going out there. Couldn't ask for a prettier day that, mid-March like this. Pretty awesome, right? But going into tonight and the weekend, hang on to your hats, right? It's going to be windy and rainy. Got that flood watch that we're watching right now and the wind advisory for tonight. But you see that temperature dip going into the weekend as well, with the highs in the upper 60s tomorrow and the highs in the upper 50s over Sunday. Coming back into Monday, it's going to be all pretty again, though. Getting back in the 60s and 70s going into Monday. So once we get through the weather through this weekend and a little bit of a cold front coming through, I think we'll be okay going into next week. So fingers crossed. And again, just letting everybody be weather aware. We're not trying to scare anybody or add to the anxiety or anything. But and to give you a quick peek at the radar here, this is kind of what's coming at us. This big swirl of mess that's coming at us. You can see a little bit of it already crossing into the state. And that's kind of what it looks like on the big satellite, this big swirl,
Wow.
A little pressure front coming at us. So it's going to be interesting this weekend, but everybody will be okay. I think we'll get through it just fine.
Yeah, and that's what's hard with weather, right? Our meteorologists with the National Weather Service, they're doing their best, looking at data, looking at models, trying to give their best guess, really, of what's going to happen this weekend. And you may feel, well, they were wrong with their forecast if you just look out your front door. But somewhere in Middle Tennessee is likely going to have a tornado, right? Or damaging winds or something. We certainly don't want that, but they can't give us exactly what's going to happen in Mount Juliet, Tennessee. So they have to give a wide regional type forecast for the area, and we just need to be prepared. That's just the nature of nature, right? And the weather. So we hope everyone has a safe weekend, a wonderful weekend. Hope we get through this weather without any issues whatsoever. It's always an honor and a pleasure to serve this wonderful community that I call home, that I grew up in. All of our officers and staff care deeply about this city and each and every one of you. And all they're wanting to do is keep this city one of the safest cities in Middle Tennessee, which we're right there at it. And just work hard every day to keep the crime influence that crosses over our borders out and away. That requires a lot of proactivity. It requires a lot of hard work off our staff. That's why you see them out there making stops, finding people who have warrants, weapons, drugs. We don't want that in our community, because if we have that in our community, and if it takes root in our community, then we start to see our crime rate go out the roof. And we are right up against the border with areas that have a significantly higher crime rate than our community. And we're just grateful for everyone that makes this city safe, from our community members to people like Rich that you see on the screen that work so hard behind the scenes, to our dispatchers, to our records clerks, all of our volunteers and support staff here, and definitely the men and women who are out there risking their life every day, encountering dangerous individuals, finding them involved in criminal activity and then taking them to jail so they don't harm anyone in our community. So thank you all so much for joining. There's about 260 plus watching us live. I know many more will watch it later. And Rich, I'll let you close it out.
Happy Pi Day to you, Shannon. I totally forgot today is Pi Day, 3/14 day. So happy Pi Day. Yeah, folks, take care of yourselves and each other. Be weather aware. Have your emergency alerts turned on your phones. If you haven't already, subscribe to MJ Alert. And be watching. If anything does, I saw Evan's comment there to check back in later tonight. Just be watching, and if anything does pop off, we'll do our best to keep everybody informed, as we always try to do. Either myself or DC or both of us will pop on here at some point and let you all know what's going on. But hey, take care of each other. Watch out for your neighbors and your family. And if you need anything, always give us a call. We're here to serve you.
Awesome. Thank you, Rich. Take care, everyone, and be safe.